I'm back with another video for the Crafters Workshop. I'm going to do kind of a fall themed layout, mostly because I wanted to use these beautiful leaf stencils that are part of the newest release. They are in a 12 by 12 and 6 by 6, and they you know, are different leaves. Maybe this might be an oak leaf, I think, and a maple, and maybe a ginkgo leaf, and just some really good graphic shapes that I thought would be great, and combine it with another sort of challenge for myself I had thought about doing, which was to sort of do a monochrome layout, but in metallics only. So what I'm planning on doing is either using the stencils on either white paper or on this craft, or maybe a combination of both, with 4 of the metallic modeling pastes. So I've got the Grecian gold, copper penny, champagne gold, and antique gold. And I thought the 4 of those I would spread out between those leaves, and then either fussy cut them out, or maybe they're part of a part of the actual page. I'm not quite sure yet, but those are the 2 stencils I'm going to use, the major ones. I also pulled this 6 by 6. It's a new one. Maybe it's a little bit of a background or something, but I'm not sure if I'm going to use that. And this one with the writing, which I thought might be a nice background piece. As well as those, I've got my craft paper and a piece of white cardstock. I also pulled this as a potential, you know, border or something around the side. I do like the black and white stripes, and I thought that might be neat to contrast against the gold colors. And then I've got some little embellishments. I've got some of these glitter, gold glitter, thicker title sort of words. And I've got some other little bits and pieces from Pink Fresh. I just pulled lots of little things that have gold on them. These little tags, which aren't gold, and I probably won't use since they're not really that monochrome, but there's a nice peach one in there that I thought might, or the yellow, I thought might be kind of interesting, because it's kind of got a little watercolor wash-ish. This was a cutout that I had saved just because I thought I liked it, from some leaves I cut out on my silhouette, so I might use that actually to either paint just the whole piece or use as a sort of a stencil in itself. Some other little die cuts, and some of the papers I thought I might use too, sort of as a background, are a lot of these wood, sort of wood grain pieces. I think they're all front and back, and it's from this paper pad. It's almost gone, which makes me really sad. I mean, I've had it forever. It's the My Mind's Eye 6 by 6, and they're all different wood grain patterns, and I mean, I have used so many of them, so I've only got a few sheets left, and I've got some scraps, but I thought I might try to use the scraps in a creative way as a mat for the photo. This is the photo, which is of my mother and I just from a few weeks ago on her birthday, and we went to our favorite restaurant. It's an Italian restaurant, and they had this really cool map of Italy and Sicily made out of wine corks. It's sort of like a contour map. It's really cool, and I like those colors, and I thought that that would kind of bring out a lot of the, you know, this copper color, and the tone of the picture would look good with that. So that's the picture. I've also got my some Gansai Tambi, the metallic watercolors, and just some regular watercolors if I decide to use those. And what I'm going to go ahead and start doing is stenciling the, stenciling the leaves and letting them dry while I kind of decide what I'm going to do with that. So let's get started. Alrighty, we're going to get started here. I speed through this fairly quickly. I've had a lot of comments and requests recently for me to talk through the video instead of listening to music, and I'll do that as much as I can. I'm not quite sure why, because I think my voice and accent is terribly annoying, but anyway, I just started out by using the white paper there and the stencil on top of it with the gold pastes, and I use each one, I think, once and maybe a repeat. I lay it on pretty thick, and
just kind of wiped off the palette knife in between each one, so that I didn't, get too much of a transfer. And that was, if you could see it that fast, it looks really good. And so then I start to do the same thing onto the craft paper, and just a little bit of a variation of the colors, I think. And they kind of started getting a little mixed up and muddy because I was kind of getting impatient and I wasn't cleaning it off as good, and because of the leftover residual paste that is on the stencil itself. And it kind of gave me a neat look to me. It probably would work better on the larger ones, but it kind of started to look like the leaf itself was in the middle of changing, which I thought could be really pretty for maybe a future project too. This is the first day of fall, so I thought that was pretty appropriate to be doing this layout with these colors and tones. So I only did one of the leaves, a big one, on the craft, and I don't even think I really used it. I really like the white, the way it popped as it turned out. So so now I zoom in a little bit here, and I'm going to just paint a quick background on my on the that little die cut leftover piece that I had used from a while ago. And this is just plain white cardstock, so it doesn't take the watercolor very well, which I guess I should have thought of. It's kind of messy, and I go over it a good bit to get it to try to take it better. But anyway, I do eventually add some of the gold colors around it just to give it a little bit of metallics, and then I think I kind of just tore those pieces up to use as a piece behind. This whole layout took me about, it was maybe about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, but I do a lot of fiddling, and really I went overboard. I didn't have to paint all this. I could have misted it. I kind of fiddle around a lot with how I'm going to place the photograph and these pieces, and so and then I had a good bit of drying time for the leaves, which part of it I used to do this rest of the part, and part of it I took a little break. So it wasn't terribly long, but I really enjoyed the way it came out. So you saw the scraps of this wood paper, then I cut into strips, and then I used some of the other pieces to cut into strips, mostly because I'm so stingy with it I don't want to use it all. And so while I kind of had that laid out the way I thought I would, and tucked some of those little gold Pink Fresh die cuts underneath it, meanwhile, off camera, and that actually did take a while, I fussy cut all of the leaves out and kind of started to place where I thought they might go. I popped my picture up on some three-dimensional adhesive, and here I go again trying to come up with the way I'm going to do this. I should have taken a photograph with my phone because I couldn't remember exactly how I had laid it out. But I come back to what I think it's going to be and start to kind of fit in those leaves all around it and see what I think. I just love the way the metallics were so crisp on the white cardstock, and I really wanted to keep it light like that. I just used a couple of the craft ones, and those would be good for another project, maybe a card or something. Those are the watercolor pieces I use just around. And I do this for quite a while. I just kind of fiddle with it. I'd see what I think. I'd move it, change it, walk around. So after I think I figured out what I was going to do, I put all these pieces back together and decided I was going to, instead of trying to adhere each and every one down, I kind of just glued a little bit of it down, and then I turned it over and put masking tape on the back of it. So I used less of my tape runner, and still got it where it's going to be. Also, I planned to do some stitching with my sewing machine, and I didn't want to gum up the needle too much with too much adhesive, which, in this point it seems probably pretty moot because I did use a good bit of tape. But anyway, so that's where the sort of this photo mat kind of starts to generate. and then I add back the leaves and those other little die cuts. And even though this is a lot of me fussing and fussing, this is really the part I enjoy the most, because I think it sort of lends itself to a little bit of my design background, where you kind of put things in one place and then maybe rethink it and look at something in a completely different way. And so so I really enjoy this part, even though it seems like it goes around and around forever. So once I start to get all of that together, I do finally come to a place where I'm going to stop, and I put the picture on. And actually, I think before I do the picture, I use some gold ink. I think it's just a acrylic ink, or maybe Liquitex, and sprinkle on some gold drops, and I run it through my sewing machine to add the stitching. And then I come back and add the last little pieces and some journaling. So I am going to play a little bit of music, and then you can see the final product when I get done. This is the end, and as you saw, I took some wood veneer pieces and dipped them into the gold gesso, and I'm going to let those dry while I put on some gold sequins just in a random spot. I really like the way a lot of the stencil leaves have, that one in particular has a lot of the sort of dots to it, so I really thought it'd be neat to kind of add sequins like that too, to kind of add more of those sort of individual elements, and along with the sort of splatters from the paint. So while that gets all good and fussy dried, I go ahead and add the date and just a quick note at the bottom where we were. A lot of times I'll add journaling on the back if it's something that I'm, don't kind of want to be a little bit private. So that's what I did do on this one. And then these are the wood veneer pieces after they have dried, and I glue them on with some matte medium. And that is pretty much it. Thanks so much for stopping by and watching. Stick around to the very end and you can see the close-ups, the final product, and then at the end we have a couple more videos you might like to see and the subscribe button, which would be great. If you're not a subscriber already, please do so, and we will see you next time. Thanks. Bye.